On the news, federal government commences update on verification of indigent citizens for cash transfer. Tribunal affirms Abu Kafas as duly elected governor of Taraba State. And in commemoration of World Heart Day, federal government unveils cardiac emergency response device. Glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Mary Kanu. The federal government has begun the verification of the National Social Register to enable it reach out to truly indigent citizens of Nigeria. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, disclosed this during a courtesy visit to the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu at the State House Marina on Saturday. She said that the federal government will be releasing the funds to 15 million households in Nigeria, and this will begin almost immediately.
We know how strategic that ministry that you have seen, how strategic it is. And in the last government, we actually did try our very best to ensure that we give them that support. The Honorable Commissioner for Wealth Creation is new. He wasn't in one, but I'm sure he briefed, but some other cabinet members were in the last cabinet as well, and permanent secretaries that was not on the cabinet. So there's a history behind us. So at that time, we saw a gap. We saw a need for us to also take it forward.
In Lagos, as directed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to carry out a verification of the National Social Register and actually see things for ourselves. Lagos have done excellently well. They equally have a Ministry of Wealth Creation and several other ministries that are directly linked to poverty alleviation and even the management of humanitarian crisis. We are going to work with the Lagos State government to see that we truly verify all the people who are on our list as beneficiaries of the conditional cash transfer. Remember, the conditional cash transfer is supposed to actually go to the pockets of Nigerians with conditions to ensure that their children are in school, they're able to provide for, of course, the food which they will consume, livelihood, and several other conditions that will be attached to the funds that will be released.
The Taraba State Governorship Election Tribunal has affirmed that Abu Kafas of the People's Democratic Party is the validly elected governor of the state. The three-man panel of justices of the tribunal said the petition challenging the election of Kafas lacked merit and consequently dismissed it. In a related development, the Sokoto State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has dismissed the petition of the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Saidu Umar challenging the victory of the All Progressives Congress and its candidate Ahmad Aliyu in the March 18 governorship election in the state. The tribunal ruled that the petitioners failed to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. And the federal government has unveiled the Cardiac Emergency Response Box, otherwise known as Automated External Defibrillators, AEDs, to respond to heart emergencies such as cardiac arrest. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pate, inaugurated the three devices in Abuja in commemoration of the 2023 World Heart Day. This next report has more details. In 2018, the World Health Organization released a report showing that non-communicable diseases accounted for 29% of all deaths in Nigeria, with cardiovascular diseases responsible for 11% of all the non-communicable diseases deaths. Hence the theme for this year's World Heart Day celebration, Use Heart, No Heart. At this event held in commemoration of World Heart Day in Abuja, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, who was represented by the Minister of State Tunji Alausa, unveiled the Cardiac Emergency Response Box donated by the Nigerian Heart Foundation, which he says will be deployed at appropriate designated high-population areas such as airports.
Statistics from the World Organization shows cardiovascular disease are the leading causes of causes of non-communicable diseases and are the foremost cause of death globally, taking estimated 17.9 million people all over the world annually. Of this cardiovascular death, 85% of them are due to heart attack and stroke, and over 3/4 occur in low and middle income countries.
The minister said the morbidity and mortality due to cardiovascular diseases in Nigeria are underestimated due to inadequate awareness and health-seeking behaviors, as well as limited screening, diagnostic and therapeutic services.
Given the silent and chronic nature of majority of the cardiovascular diseases, it is important to institute long-lasting measures to prevent, detect, manage them early in order to avert complications such as heart attack, heart failure, stroke, and even death. Luckily, the risk factors for heart diseases are well known and largely preventable.
The executive director of the Nigerian Heart Foundation, while speaking about the AEDs, said that they are sophisticated, lightweight, and help to restore a normal heartbeat.
Nigerian Heart Foundation is pleased to join hand with stakeholders, especially the Federal Ministry of Health, to stem the rising profile of these facilities. And that's why we have come up with the Cardio Emergency Response Box, which contains the automated external defibrillators. The Nigerian Heart Foundation will provide the message advocating for the inclusion of this Cardiac Emergency Response Box as an essential package for prevention of deaths resulting from sudden cardiac arrest in public institutions and privately owned organizations.
The Nigerian Heart Foundation has said it will advocate for the inclusion of the Cardiac Emergency Response Box for prevention of deaths resulting from sudden cardiac arrest in public institutions and privately owned organizations. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria. A high-level interactive seminar and extraordinary session of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Parliament, is underway in Winneba, Ghana. The session seeks to determine the causes of military takeovers, democratic regression and political instability in the sub-region. Speakers at the opening session are insistent that the ongoing trends show that democracy in the region is in danger, just as they believe the parliamentarians have a massive role to ensure democracy remains relevant.
Democracy in West Africa is in danger, and we must work even harder to entrench the principles of democratic accountability in the citizenry. In my opinion, regional democracy is currently facing three serious threats. Firstly, is the attempted confiscation of democracy by elites who engage through legal antics in the manipulation of constitutional rules and the subjugation of the institutions of the Republic with the sole aim of remaining in power. Secondly, is the emerging remilitarization of governance with the return once again of the military onto the political scene, who have neither consulted nor received any mandate from the people on whose behalf they purport to act. Lastly, is the wanton desire to destroy democracy by terrorist groups and armed criminal gangs who seek to establish zones of lawlessness in the absence of freedom in our region.
Parliamentarians need to step up the plate and demonstrate the extraordinary leadership that is expected of us. The adage, to whom much is given, much is expected, applies here. We must embrace democracy as essential to progress and muster the confidence to speak out against leaders who are solidifying their hold on power against the wishes of the people, because we have a moral obligation to do so. We must denounce those who start constitutional and institutional coups with the same zeal and tones as we denounce military coups.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has assured that insecurity currently disturbing the peace in Kaduna State will soon be a thing of the past, adding that the armed forces are determined to bring the ugly situation to an end. The Defense Chief made this pledge while responding to an appeal by the Governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, to prolong the stay of Special Forces in the ongoing war against banditry, kidnapping, as well as expanding the Operation Safe Haven in southern Kaduna and all the troubled areas of the state during his visit to the governor. Governor Sani said the military intervention he is requesting will help in addressing the lingering insecurity in various local government areas. Governor Sani, however, assured the Chief of Defense Staff of his administration's commitment to the sustenance of the cordial relationship and partnership with the security agencies, as well as efforts towards interstate collaboration in the fight against terrorism and banditry in Kaduna State. And the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, has expressed concern about the rising insecurity in the country. The center says despite high budgetary allocations to the defense and security sector, insecurity still holds sway. The senior program person for peace and security at CISLAC, Betta Ogwemi, made the statement at a one-day media dialogue on effective oversight and defense anti-corruption reportage in Abuja. According to her, the monies paid by taxpayers should be accounted for.
From 2009 till date, a lot has been remitted, a lot is being allocated to the defense and the security sector. One would think that ordinarily, because of the enormous words, because of the amount of money being allocated to the defense and security sector, all the issues of insecurity would have been addressed. When you go to the defense sector to request for information based on the Freedom of Information Act, the issue of national security comes in to play, and they will divulge only the information that they are comfortable with divulging. Now, we are not saying that our national security should be laid bare for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to see and to know what is happening. But then we are saying, if there be need to classify any information, there should also be an opening where some information is declassified or made available to the public. The public should be carried along. We are a nation that is governed by a constitution.
And gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have abducted 25 travelers along the Benin Expressway in Ondo State. The victims are said to be members of the choir of the Christ Apostolic Church, Oke-Igon, Akure, the state capital. The abductors were said to have struck at about 3 p.m. on Friday, while the choristers were on their way to a funeral ceremony. The public relations officer of Ondo State Police Command, Fumilayo Omisonya, who confirmed the incident, said men of the anti-kidnapping squad of the command have been drafted to the area to rescue the victims and apprehend the culprits. Meanwhile, in the latest development, 8 out of the 25 choristers who were kidnapped by gunmen have escaped from their captors. The commander of the Ondo State Security Network, popularly known as the Amotekunko, Adetunji Adeleye, who revealed this, said the victims escaped while they were being forcefully taken into the forest by the armed men. And the human rights group Civil Society Coalition for Good Governance has commended President Bola Tinubu for his leadership style and choice of appointing those within the system to head various government institutions and parastatals in the country. The rights group also urged the president to consider people from the South, South and Southeast regions for appointment into agencies that were yet to be filled, particularly the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Spokesperson of the coalition, who spoke at a press conference in Lagos, said the decision of President Tinubu to appoint those within the system to head government institutions without political interference encouraged dedication and commitment among staff of the affected institutions and parastatals.
We are glad that President Tinubu has corrected such anomaly by ensuring that appointment into such organizations are made from within the organizations, especially appointing those who have risen through the ranks to become qualified
to be appointed into such positions. We have seen such also in the immigration service. We have seen the fact that for the first time, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps had a leadership that rose from the rank to the Controller General position. We believe this approach can lead to a more stable and effective security system and ensures that individuals with years of experience and institutional knowledge are entrusted with leadership roles. And we believe that this will eliminate political interference and ensure leadership positions are filled based on merit and competence rather than political consideration.
We also want to draw his attention that he should also consider people from the south, south, and southeast in also making them feel to have this sense of belonging in the nationhood of this country, so that they can also bring out the best in such regions to also serve the interests of the nation. So we're looking at areas of the paramilitary and the anti-graft agencies that are very, very important in this nation. You see, the anti-graft is very important because no matter whoever occupies the position in any ministerial or any appointment, if such agencies or individuals are not being checkmated by the anti-graft agencies, you know, we will still be going back to where we were coming from, where we said we were celebrating corruption. So we're appealing to Mr. President to really look inward and listen to us, who are the eyes of the people.
We'll take a break now, but still to come, 3 killed, 18 missing after Zimbabwe gold mine collapse. Details of the story and more when we return. Join us again. Thank you for staying. Here's a recap of our top stories. The federal government has begun the verification of the National Social Register to enable it reach out to truly indigent citizens of Nigeria. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, disclosed this during a courtesy visit to the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu at the State House Marina on Saturday. She said that the federal government will be releasing the funds to 15 million households in Nigeria. We also told you that the Taraba State Governorship Election Tribunal has affirmed that Agbu Kefas of the People's Democratic Party is the validly elected governor of the state. The 3-man panel of justices of the tribunal said the petition challenging the election of Kefas lacked merit and consequently dismissed it. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Mix4 TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store and Huawei App Gallery on Facebook at TV360 Online. And now in business, the Capital Market Solicitors Association has organized an event to commemorate the 2023 edition of its annual business summit in Lagos. The event tagged recent developments in sub-Saharan African sovereign debt, implications for Nigeria, focused on the African debt crisis, its implications and potential solutions. Speakers at the event emphasized that sustaining Nigeria's economy, fostering a favorable environment for businesses to thrive and attract foreign investments are crucial.
There's nothing wrong with debt. Every government around the world, the United States, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, borrow. And they borrow for all sorts of reasons. You borrow because there's a shortfall between revenue and spending. Sometimes you borrow in order to establish the yield curve in the local market. So there's nothing wrong with Nigerian government having debt. All that is important is that the debt is sustainable. Really and truly, it comes back to the sustainability of public debt. Is the government of any country able to repay its indebtedness as that obligation arises? And it's a function of revenue and spending. And as long as we keep our economy open for businesses to thrive, for foreign investment to come in, and therefore for public revenue to rise from collecting taxes, also stabilization of production in crude. If we increase the production of crude oil in Nigeria, public revenue will rise because that's the largest source of FX revenue for Nigeria. So it's really a challenge of increasing crude oil production. There's a challenge of increasing tax collection. It's also a challenge of looking at the foreign exchange control challenges we have in Nigeria, the liquidity issues, and ensuring that we resolve those. Once we resolve those, there will be an inflow.
The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NATI, says Nigeria lost about 1.96 trillion naira to oil theft, sabotage and oil production adjustment in 2021. Reacting to this development on TV360's flagship program, DG360, oil and gas expert Samuel Ranter says those in charge of overseeing national affairs lack the political will to put an end to oil theft. Ranter also urged the federal government to approve more contracts to protect infrastructure.
The people who is saddled with the job of superintending over the affairs of the nation are not serious-minded. They don't have the political will to stop oil theft because probably people in high places are involved. So there is a kind of collusion, some kind of conspiracy that is going on here. Otherwise, when you pick one or two people and use them as example, it will serve as deterrent to others. Others will be oil thieves. You see, if you are moving to the Niger Delta, where I come from, you discover that every 2 poles, there are one security agency or the other. In fact, you can't travel without stopping 1,000 times on the way. They stop you and they check you, and yet these things are happening. So let the government award more contracts to people that will protect the oil infrastructure. But above all, there must be the political will to ensure that this stuff does not continue. The people who are siphoning this oil, who are doing the real business, those are the ones you waste time on, you spend time on. Not the small fries. It's like you leave the real thieves, the pen robbers, and all the rest of them, and you go and start pursuing the pickpockets. Give food to the pickpockets, engage them constructively, and they will get off the system. But the main people is the people, those who are actually bringing in ship to load this product and sell it to international companies that will buy it and pay them in dollars. Those are the ones that are. Look at what has been happening. It is a shame that at this point in time in our national life, that we've not been able to improve in our capacity to sell whatever God has given us, to refine it in any manner at all.
And 3 miners have been killed and 18 feet buried after a shaft in an informal Zimbabwean gold mine collapsed. The accident occurred on Friday in Chegutu, about 120 kilometers west of the capital, Harare. The bodies were found underneath some rocks in a search operation being undertaken by the government with the assistance of some artisanal miners. And political actors who seek positions through elections have been advised to prioritize the economic well-being of the citizens when elected into office or risk being kicked out through a coup. This was the position of Raymond Atuba, the Dean, University of Ghana Law School, and Mohammed Chambers, former president of the ECOWAS Commission, who spoke at a 3-day high-level parliamentary seminar on the challenges of unconstitutional regime change and presidential term limits in West West Africa, the role of ECOWAS Parliament in Ghana. Presenting his paper on the focal topic, Atiba said political and economic indices must be monitored to give early warning signals for preemptive actions. On his part, Chambers called for diplomacy and negotiations in dealing with military takeovers in the sub-region.
What we are doing in Africa is we are seeking the political kingdom, and after that we stop there. People go to the ballot box to vote for you, not because they want to end at the political kingdom. They see you as a means to reach the economic kingdom. If you don't take them to the economic kingdom, they will kick you out, either through a military coup or a civilian coup. It's as simple as that. And it is not so difficult to do, to bring about the economic kingdom. There are basic criteria that determine whether a country is going in the right way or not. If you check the country's GDP, minimum wage, inflation, interest rate, exchange rate, pricing of natural resources, military spending, and a few other indices, you will know whether the country is leading to trouble or not. Why can't ECOWAS monitor these and take preemptive actions in countries that are so way off the economic kingdom that they are about to plunge politically? For God's sake, you are called the economic community of West African states, not the political community of West African states.
We must allow democracy to prevail, and we must allow ECOWAS to truly be in the driver's seat, so that we seek African solutions to this African problem. So our partners sometimes should allow us, give us a little space to breathe, so we can think clearly about the solutions, and only then can they come in to support us to ensure that we're on the right path to consolidating democratic governance.
In sports, preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup remains firmly on track, with a group of FIFA experts concluding the first leg of operational visits to the 16 host cities for the historic tournament, which will be staged across Canada, Mexico and the USA for the first time. A group of international and North American-based FIFA experts leading key operational areas from transport and stadium operations and pitch management visited half of the venues. The tour will continue in late October in Dallas and conclude in Vancouver on November 3rd.
We've got the luxury in 2026 of walking into very sophisticated stadiums and host cities. They do events here all the time. The cities host major events all the time, obviously not a FIFA World Cup. So taking what the host cities do and excel at, taking what the stadiums do and excel at, and overlaying a FIFA World Cup on top of that, taking best practices from both our side on the FIFA side and the host cities and stadium side, and creating what will be a spectacular event. Obviously,
that's the size of a news bulletin. Thank you for watching. I am Mary Kanu.